Hey, this is Have Learn, a place to discover and gain new skills. Today we're going to be talking through Myers Briggs, what it is, why it's important, and most significantly, how it works. Myers Briggs is a personality test which attempts to assign 4 categories that can help indicate differing psychological preferences in how people perceive the world and make decisions. Myers Briggs was created in the US in the mid 20th century and is the brainchild of Catherine Cook Briggs and her daughter Isabel Briggs Myers. It was developed after the Second World War in the belief that if people understood each other better, there would be less conflict. It's important to say that the Myers Briggs personality test has no right or wrong answer. Whilst there might be traits or outcomes you'd prefer, you'll get the most value out of Myers Briggs by being honest. The result you get will help you best understand your own personality and typical traits associated with it. Getting friends, family, and colleagues to also participate will help you better understand each other and how to communicate more effectively between yourselves. There's a lot of discussion around personality tests and how they should be used. For me, it's a tool, another data point you can use to help guide you and help you identify some of your personal characteristics that you might not have been so aware of. I don't believe the results should be taken as gospel, and they shouldn't be used to define who you are, what you do, or how you behave. They definitely shouldn't be used as an excuse to justify behaving in negative ways. The key benefit to these tests, in my opinion, is to help you improve your self-awareness, which is a great quality to have, and I would encourage you to look at these tests in a similar way. Something to consider before we begin is how you define a personality. A challenge to these tests is that the results can change over time, and a person may answer differently even within a short time frame. For me, I'm fine with that. For a test like this to work, a black and white approach is needed so that people can be grouped effectively. In reality, the world exists in shades of grey. As an example, you may love cake, but if you ate nothing but cake for a month, I would think your opinion might have changed. I think personalities are similar. Whilst you may have core aspects of your personality which will remain relatively consistent, as you learn, age, and experience, I believe your personality has the potential to change too. Even in the short term, your environment and what's happening in your life presently may also impact how you perceive and interact with the world. These tests aren't something you do once and never review again. They are something that's worthwhile looking at periodically, particularly following big changes in your life. Now we've discussed what Myers Briggs is and expectations around it, let's look at how it works. The Myers Briggs test determines which personality type you fit into by examining 4 key categories and determining which of 2 options in each category you skew most heavily towards. The categories looked at are introversion or extroversion, sensing or intuition, thinking or feeling, judging or perceiving. While some individuals will neatly fit into all of these categories, I know with myself I felt divided on one of these, and that's fine. If you're in a similar position, take a look at both outcomes and see which of the matching personality types makes the most sense for you. In order for you to decide which of these options would be most relevant, let's discuss what they actually mean, as there are some nuances in their definitions. When looking at introversion or extroversion, it's not actually about whether you are shy or outgoing, but instead relates to what type of activities help you to recharge and re-energize. If you're introverted, at the end of a long tiring day, you're most likely going to want to regain your energy by spending time alone. Introverts are more likely to enjoy quiet, less crowded experiences, which leave pause for contemplation. They can sometimes be too sensitive to their environment, although this can mean they pick up cues more easily. An extrovert, at the end of the day, is more likely to go to a busy party where they can socialize and recharge in the company of others. Extroverts tend to enjoy going and doing, engaging in activities involving conversation and connecting. Boredom can come easily, and this may lead to them doing things for the excitement without consideration of the impact of their choices. When looking at sensing or intuition, you should consider how you interpret and process stimulus from the world around you. Sensing tends to be a more pragmatic and factual way to interpret information. They view that facts speak for themselves and will tend to prefer tried and tested methods. Sensing people will focus on the real time and what's happening in front of them. They will be more practical people with less regard for the past and future. People with a preference for intuition tend to look for possibilities and the relationships between facts, allowing for flexibility and interpretation. Intuitive personality types exercise their imaginations, questioning, wondering, and connecting the dots whilst looking at the bigger picture. In terms of thinking or feeling, you should consider which is most important to you. Is it the most value overall, or the option that seeks the most harmony? Thinking individuals will be more logical and will objectively evaluate information. They will have a logical thought pattern that considers if A is true and B is true, then the logical outcome is C. Typically, they will have less consideration around the impact of the decision on individuals. For thinking individuals, efficiency is more important than cooperation, and they will seek to maximize value with less consideration for the impact it has. People with a preference to feeling make decisions based on beliefs, values, and ideals. They are fully conscious of the impact of decisions on others and include these factors when making decisions, looking to get a mutually favorable outcome. Typically, feeling individuals will be more empathetic and less competitive. Lastly, let's look at judging or perceiving. This dichotomy considers whether you're more likely to favor certainty or spontaneity in life. If you are a judging personality type, planning will be much more important to you. They will tend to stick to their plans and would prefer contingency plans to also be in place, as opposed to dealing with things as they come. Judging individuals will have a feeling of accomplishment if their set goals for the day are completed and can get frustrated at distractions. Perceptive individuals will tend to go with the flow and are more likely to book a trip without having an itinerary planned. Life will be seen as flexible and will be lived in an open-ended style. Changes in plans are accepted with little stress, but a rigid structure can quickly lead to boredom. Now you understand the meaning of each option, you can choose the one in each category that is most relevant to you. If you combine the letters highlighted in each option, this should give you a 4-letter combination which indicates what your personality type would be. Depending on which options were most relevant to you, you will fall into one of 4 key groups. If you place yourself as an intuitive thinker, you would be an analyst, known for rationality, impartiality, and intellectual excellence. On the other hand, if you identified as intuitive and feeling, then you would be a diplomat, known for empathy, diplomatic skills, and passionate idealism. Sensing and judging personality types are sentinels, known for their practicality and focus on order, security, and stability. And if you are sensing and perceiving, you're an explorer, known for spontaneity, ingenuity, and flexibility. Each of these groups can then be broken down into 4 personality types, which leads to a total of 16 personalities overall. I want to make sure you get a good overview of the characteristics of each of these personality types, so check out my next video where we will talk through these in more depth. Hopefully you've enjoyed learning about what Myers Briggs is and how the categorization works. It'd be great to hear what some of your personality types were, so leave a comment below. Take care and looking forward to seeing you again soon.